Following a large protest yesterday handing over a memorandum of demands, students at the University of Cape Town have gathered at the entrances of its 3 campus sites. A number of protests at places of higher learning across the city have been ongoing for the past 2 weeks. UCT students are demanding, among others, suspension of all classes while talks are underway with university executives. Among the number of issues are the blocking of students to register for the new year with debt of over 10,000 rand and accommodation as well as fees. SABC News reporter Mariska Botha spoke to the Student Representative Council at the University of Cape Town.
Yesterday we submitted to the University of Cape Town management a memorandum of demands. It was also sent via email, open and access to the students of the University of Cape Town. The most we received at that time was that the conversation was noted, which obviously meant that whatever outcomes we were going to get are subjective to whatever decision they take. So then the students of the University of Cape Town therefore decided to continue with their academic boycott, because the fundamentals of why we went to go submit that memorandum was, while we are still in the process of negotiations, classes cannot continue because some people don't have access to classes. But the word we have today is there is a scheduled executive meeting along with the SRC, that is an emergency meeting that is set for today in the afternoon.
Just yesterday, the Minister of Higher Education deployed a task team to the Nelson Mandela Bay University. Is that something that you would like to happen in this campus, since these issues have been, here for a while for you?
Definitely. As much as there is going to be a task team, ideally, that is deployed to the University of Cape Town, I do think the minister should have a consideration of a task team that looks at the national cracks or the national issues within the issue of financial exclusion or housing. I don't think it's sensible that annually each and every university must find itself in a position where it has to protest annually, whereas there is a way in which we can mitigate most of these factors. So I do believe that as much as they can deploy a task team to the University of Cape Town to look into the policies of the University of Cape Town, it is equally essential to deploy a task team to look into the policies of NSFAS, because those are the fundamentals of our issues here, to look into the policies of what is ought to be done with the missing middle, because the vast majority of our students fall within that category, right? Then furthermore, look into how do we then maintain institutional autonomy, but then what control do the ministers have over fee and fee increases? Because a university has its own council that decides on the decision. How do we therefore, the minister, have to influence on that, so that ensures that public universities come back and serve the public and don't service or don't operate as corporate? So I do believe that maybe the task team that the government should look at is firstly looking into the national policies around fee debts and fee increases within universities, right? Look into policies that speak to historical debt, right? That means, and maybe the amendment or the adaptation of the acts that speaks to wiping off historical debt. Then furthermore, looking into the housing crisis that happens nationally. But I do think then a task team is essential for UCT, yes.
What happens now? We heard from a young man upstairs who's in his final year and he can't register. What happens to these students in the meantime?
Definitely.
Just keep your eye on him.
Definitely. I think that's the plea we have to the university, that while we're having this conversation or this meantime conversation, classes cannot continue, because how do I not go to class while the other student has access to classes? And that's the only submission we have to the University of Cape Town, because we don't like students, or we don't want these finalists to be left behind. So it is quite unfortunate that our university does not have any policies that speak to concessions, right? For example, if I didn't have funding, but I have prospective funding for the year of 2025, I do think there is lineage for consideration for those type of students. There's consideration for students with academic merit. In our offices, one of the 80 students who are sleeping in our SRC offices, he had roundabout for his first year mathematics, read about 90-something percentage or 90-something percent. This was a student who's academically eligible, who's doing well in his academic, but the university has no consideration for these type of students. We have students sitting on the Dean's Merit list coming back with fee blocks. So I do think the bigger call, the current call to the universities, that classes must be suspended while we're having this conversation. While then we are done with the conversation, then we can revisit the conversation of classes.
What will take place today?
Well, today, I mean, as you can see, our students are gathered in various spaces around campus having a demonstration. So that will continue until we then hear the conversation from UCT that speaks to classes being suspended, because the main demonstration, the main reason for the demonstration is that classes can't continue while we have this crash.